But
My
was
hair
it funny?
does look nice today.
Your hair looks great. It's like
It's got bounce.
It does have bounce. So you're doing good things with your hair, madame.
Thank you.
But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. If I can.
What time is it?
Find my notes. I think it's tin hat.
I think it might be tin hat time.
It's tin hat time. Yeah, tin hat time with Hannah and Megan. I'm Megan, and
I'm Hannah.
Yeah, and it's time to jump into the Puente murder house.
All right, Megan, taking us back. So
yeah,
a little bit of backstory on this one. Last week, we did one kind of from my hometown. So this one is a little close to home for you, yeah?
Yeah, so same county, right? So it's probably one of, I think, Sacramento's like most like notorious crimes, right? It's the one that a lot of people talk about.
Which like there's some contest for notorious Sacramento crimes because
yeah, it's definitely something we could probably do an entire episode on of like literally how many serial killers come out of the Sacramento area.
What the fuck is in the water in Sacramento?
Probably jet fuel. I don't know. There's an Air Force base, so like maybe there's like weird experiments going on. Like there are legit bunkers on the old Air Force base. So
ooh, love a bunker. Anyways,
yeah. But anywho, so Dorothea Puente, so she is famous for murdering. I don't know why I laughed.
I don't know why I giggled. Like why that?
It's not
the
funny,
most weird,
like,
nervous laugh.
It is definitely a nervous laugh. But she murdered 9 people in her home and buried 7 on her property. And so
Jesus.
She has like a lot of nicknames and stuff, the granny killer, whatever. There's the death house. That's encouraging. So she ran a boarding house. Like that was the main thing that she did. She ran a boarding house, and then she preyed on people who were homeless, had very minimal connections to the outside world as far as no family connections, anything like that, mentally ill, all those types of people. That's who she preyed on, right?
So she had like a pretty like easy pickings, if you will, like victim pool, like because there were people like no one's calling to look for where these people were. Like I did a little bit of research into it as well, and it sounded like the boarding house that she ran was legitimately too good to be true, because like she would cook meals for it, like she would like take the people's like income checks and like give them an allowance or whatever, and like keep a little bit off for the running of the household.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she painted herself as a great person in the community. I mean, she would donate like chunks of money to charities, and like would go to these charity events and rub elbows with the hootie hoos or whatever of Sacramento. And so like social workers would actually give her what they considered more difficult cases, and she was like, cool, the difficult ones are easy to kill.
Nobody's gonna notice that this random person is missing. God,
it's sad, but it's also like
it's a true bummer though.
That
but also, and this
serial killers do target people.
I don't know how to say this without coming off like a psycho person, but like it's kind of smart.
It is. I mean,
like if you have the need to kill and you want to make some money while you're doing it.
She was a very smart woman. But that's what made her so dangerous, right? Is that she knew exactly what she was doing. I mean, this is somebody though that had a really rough upbringing, orphaned pretty young, just had a really rough childhood. And it kind of created her into the person she was. She had a really long crime history before she got to murder. And even then, with how comfortable she was with the murders, it kind of makes you wonder, how
many, well, there's usually in
most serial killer stuff, right? There's
an escalation. Like, I think the serial killers are like the big criminals that you hear about and like that we're fascinated by. They usually start like, they don't start off with that kind of shit. And if it's the first thing on their record, then they were good at hiding stuff. But there's usually like the petty theft, like in that, and like she had, Dorothea Puente had a case like against her about like poisoning an old man and robbing him. Like he said that he was drugged and he could see what she was doing, but he couldn't do anything about it. And it's just,
and so that was the first time. So that's when she went to jail, right? So that is how that story started. So she was doing this crime of cashing people's checks, and so he, you know, saw her, like actually saw her steal from him. And so he called his social worker or whatever. He's smart. It probably saved his life, realistically. And so she gets caught, gets convicted of 5 years, serves 3. And while she is in prison, she gets a pen pal. And so her pen pal is an older gentleman, and, you know, they establish this friendship, lovers, whatever. And he waits outside. He's like the person to pick her up out of prison. So he waits outside in his red Ford truck. And that's important. That's important for later.
Come into play later, kiddos.
So waits outside with his red Ford truck. You know, they end up moving in together, all that sort of stuff. And then about a year later, he disappears. And the family continues to contact her, like, hey, where is he? Yada, yada, yada. And she just writes letters back saying, oh, he's sick. That's why he hasn't responded.
Oh, he's just hanging out, you know. Yeah. I don't know why she's suddenly from Minnesota.
I don't know either, because she's from Sacramento.
He's not. That's not what they sound like. They go,
They sound like me.
They sound like, I was trying to not just like insult you, because I know how it feels to have people make fun of your accent all the time.
That's the greatest part though about the West Coast. There just is no accent unless you're from Washington.
Don't say that. Come on.
But anywho, so what happens is he disappears, right? And then around the time this guy disappears, she hires a younger guy, Ishmael Flores, to build her a box to store books, and she's going to put them in, you know, her storage unit. And so the box dimensions are like 6 foot by like 2 foot by like 3 feet. It's like or 2 by 2 by 2 by 6.
Well, I feel like 6.
It's coffin shaped. That's what we're getting at.
3 feet deep. It's math, you know. I was educated in the Appalachians. You were educated in your living room. We do what we can.
So
with the hands we were dealt. But so basically, she had a guy build her a coffin.
Yes. So he built her a coffin.
Not that long after prison or pen pal Red Truck McGee has.
Right? So it's like she's been out of prison for a year, right? He disappears. She hires somebody to build her this box, and also to refinish some flooring in the house. Convenient. She doesn't own this home, so like it's a bit strange, but she's the considered the landlady too. But she essentially pays this guy for his services with a red Ford truck. And so which she said was a gift from a friend in LA, or somebody didn't need it anymore, and so
here, you take this truck, thanks for building a coffin, I mean a box.
Yeah, exactly.
For not a body.
This dude did a lot of work for her, which was like really suspicious. Like either he didn't make the connections because she was a sweet little old lady, or he was like willfully ignorant. Just because like they do a coffin shaped box, right? And then she convinces him, hey, help me take it to storage. And on the way to the storage place, she goes, oh, wait, actually, let's just dump it on this illegal dumping ground by the Sacramento River. And
I don't want this shit anymore anyway.
They just dump it on the side of the road, which is really strange considering you were originally going to store the books and now you're not. So that is also strange. He also would dig holes for her in the yard for her to bury trash. Which we speculated before. That doesn't make sense either, because like if you go to the dump, you still pay money. And you would assume that somebody digging 3-foot holes in the ground would cost more than a dump.
Like we said before, I don't know if he just, if this guy clearly was not asking a lot of questions.
No.
He wasn't looking very far into things beyond, this little old lady is giving me some money in a truck to do some stuff around the house and yard for her. Yeah, things smell weird, but she's an old lady.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's a very strange circumstance that, he does this work for her.
I've seen some pictures of Dorothea Puente, and I will find some more, and I will put those up on our Instagram.
Yay.
And she looks upsettingly like my darling Gran.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. Well, she just has that sweet, I mean, her eyes are kind of dead, but I also wonder if that's just because I know that she murdered 7 or more people, 9 or more people.
Nine confirmed that she murdered. So, but more
are possible.
Yeah. So she's a very
but looking at her, you would be like, oh, Miss Dorothea needs a hand. Like, I should be a good citizen today and help her out. And she'll be like, let's go across the street and get some gin and scratchies afterwards. So she's like, fun.
So how she got caught, I think, is a really interesting thing too. And the detective John Cabrera, who worked the case, he's in every documentary that I listen to or watch. Down. Like, he literally accepted anyone who wants to talk about it. He's like, I'm there. Like, yes, let's do it.
He's like, oh, were you talking about Dorothy? I was at the murderess of Sacramento's home.
Yeah,
I helped dig up. I was pulling on it, and I thought it was every time he
tells the same story too every time. So, but how she kind of got caught is a little bit weird. So, the social worker, kind of called or whatever, like, hey, so-and-so's missing, right? And need more of a welfare check, right? We need to go just question the landlady, like kind of like typical stuff that people have been missing. But then she also said you should bring shovels because there's been a lot of strange activity in the yard. And I thought that was a really odd thing. I only heard it in one podcast, and I think it's in What Makes a Killer.
Okay.
But so I thought that was like an interesting thing. So that's why they brought shovels. So when they came to question her, they asked, hey, can we dig in the yard? And she's like, kind of like, I don't know why, but sure. Right.
Why the fuck?
Like, so this happens, and, the detective's digging, whatever. Right. And he pulls up a human femur. Right. And he loves to tell that story. Yeah. He thought it was a tree root, and he yanked, and it was a femur.
And it was a femur.
So what happens is, I guess she had like a Home Alone reaction where it's just like, oh my goodness, like hands to her face.
Like,
what did you find in the yard? And this was a lady who was meticulous about the yard. Like, it was a very well manicured yard. So it wasn't like she wasn't in the yard digging around, whatever. So it adds another layer of like interestingness. But she says at one point, oh, I don't feel comfortable being here anymore. I'd like to go down the street to get a cup of coffee. And
I'm just gonna pop down the street. Just now she's Southern. And the pastor's like, oh, well, I get it, like when you find a body in the backyard, and like, I feel like they were probably like, I feel like reading somewhere or listening to a podcast, maybe on My Favorite Murder, even though I feel like Karen and Georgia would be horrified to be listed as like a source. But
Wikipedia is also a source. They were like, so it's not a college paper, who cares?
Yeah, no, fuck it. But like, she was like, oh goodness, everything. Oh my heavens, I'm gonna pop to the hotel down the street and get some coffee. Coffee should happen now. And they're just like, okay, all right. And then she just was like, pew pew pew,
Yeah.
Just fucked off right to LA.
Yeah, she literally immediately called a cab when she got down to the hotel to have a cup of coffee.
She's like, just gonna go get some coffee. You fellas want anything from the place? I'll be right back. 3 black and 2 with cream. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's a smart lady, but not smart enough to not drink at a bar with a dude who then recognized her later and called the cops.
Immediately, the second she got to LA, she's like, I need to find the sketchiest bar.
I think she wasn't even gone for like 72 hours or something. Like it was a very short time that she had escaped. But anywho, so, you know, she gets caught. She pleads not guilty. She gets convicted of 3 murders, and then the other 6 end up getting labeled a mistrial because it's essentially a hung jury.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like, how do you say like yes, she murdered 3, but not the other 6?
But the other 6 don't count.
I don't get it. Like, but anyway.
Like, obviously we didn't read the court transcripts, and maybe there was insufficient evidence, or I just don't see how you can have reasonable doubt. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I definitely wish that like some of the jurors would be in like one of these podcasts or documentaries, but it's very interesting.
I don't know if you're allowed to after you've been a juror. Like,
there's a certain amount of time that has to pass, and then you can. Yeah,
I was just kind of musing that in my head, but I didn't know, so I didn't want to say anything, so we'll let you be wrong.
I'm pretty sure, unless it's one of those things of like hung jury or something, because I remember watching some documentary a while ago about it, and they had jurors on, but maybe it was a trial that ended in a hung jury.
She was convicted enough to be sent away for life in prison, correct?
Yes, so she got life without parole.
Life without parole.
Yeah, is what she got. And so, you know, after that happens, she writes a cookbook. later on, she writes a cookbook. So
that's just so upsetting.
If you want to cook with a serial killer,
that's the title?
Cooking with a serial killer.
Oh no. No. I think you're not allowed to be pithy about yourself when you're a serial killer. Like, that's not, I don't like it.
I think what's weird about the fact that she wrote that book
cheese while we're recording.
Oh, you're okay. But it's just like, if like she very adamantly denied like the entire time she was alive that she didn't do it, but she wrote a book called Cooking with a Serial Killer. So it's just a little bit like, this is like that OJ book, right? Of If I Did It. Like, and it's just like, come on, dude. Like, I don't know.
This is where
it's funny. But anyway,
would this be a double no, because 3 is enough to make you a serial killer officially. So
I thought 2.
Never mind. No, but it's 3. It's 3 kills with a cooling off period in between.
Oh, well, okay. And the cooling off period can be like super short, can it?
I feel like there's like berserker periods. There's also some killers who have had like a double incident, like Jack the Ripper, the Night Stalker, Ted Bundy had his double incident. But
there's sprees.
Yeah, they also like can go into like a berserker kind of a thing where like when Ted Bundy was in Florida, that was his berserker rage thing.
Yeah.
So maybe his double incident. I think it could be the same thing.
I don't know. But anyway, so after Dorothea is convicted, all that, right? The home turns over quite a few times. You know, we don't have a lot of history in the 80s and 90s. I just think because, you know, they probably weren't online, and we did all of our research online because neither of us are in Sacramento. So,
no. Also, because why would we go to Sacramento?
Pretty much. So,
no offense, Sacramento. Look into your hearts.
Sacramento is cool and awful at the same time, and I think a lot of people who spent a tremendous amount of time in Sacramento can attest that there are very interesting things about Sacramento, but sometimes it just sucks. So,
well, I remember when we went out to eat in Sacramento, Sacktown, which is hideous. I hate it, but is so appropriate. But we went out to that like cute little breakfast place that was like a block away from the Puente house, and it's like Yeah, that place used to be a pretty shitty neighborhood and area, and it still kind of is.
It's still a little bit rough. So like F Street and like that whole like, I think it's technically considered like Midtown. It's definitely kind of sketchy. You know, there's a large homeless population.
That speaks to how she was
use.
Able to get away with her shit for as long as she was, is because she was in a underserviced area of town. She was working with an underserviced people. Like, there's just not the resources, unfortunately, in our country. So like when people started investigating even lightly into her, they just don't have the resources to look into poor elderly people who have gone missing.
Exactly. And so
don't have anybody pushing them.
Yeah. So like now that neighborhood has definitely come up a little bit. You know, they've definitely cleaned it up a little bit, but knowing Sacramento, it's like one street over, it can probably still be like super shitty.
Oh no, I remember when we were walking and we had to park one street over, and I was like,
yeah, it's
don't
definitely
step on that hypodermic needle there, DeLuca.
It's careful. Definitely like a little sketchy, for sure. Like I used to go there as a teenager. We would obviously you can't go inside of someone's private property, and we were goody goodies, but we'd go down to Rick's Dessert Diner. So shout out to Rick's. It's like a late night dessert diner, and so you'd go down there, and then like, you know, me and my friend Kelly would drive past the house and just oogle at the murder house. Like, yeah, a lot of people do that.
Did you ever get vibes while you were there?
I mean, it's a creepy Victorian house, so you know, it's like that Victorian, it's like, I can't remember what the official like style of the home is, but it's somewhere
in between, like pre-California bungalow.
Yeah, so it's like sort of a Tudor, sort of a craftsman home, sort of smashed together.
Those words mean things to me.
Yeah, it's called, you know, being older and like being in architecture. So
you're just into houses.
I love houses.
I accepted the fact that I'm gonna rent for the rest of my life because I don't give a fuck.
But anywho, so this house eventually, you know, it's kind of juggled around, whatever. It goes to auction. Goes to auction and is sold to Tom Williams and Barbara Holmes. And they get it for $215,000, which was like
a screaming deal.
It's a steal. And like the house is now in, you know, 2021 worth like close to $700,000. So I mean, huge bump. But the reason though this house has been able to stay around for so long though, is that it's a historic home. So
they couldn't tear it down.
They literally were not allowed to tear it down. Whereas like you look in the past of like, you know,
John Wayne Gacy's house.
Exactly, right? Like that one is torn down. Like most serial killer homes, or like where like these really grisly things happen,
they tore down where H.H. Holmes' murder castle was. Exactly. But that also could have been in the name of progress, but I think it was because everyone was creeped out.
Well, I'm sure part of that too is it was a hazard because of all of his like secret rooms and stuff. And probably. Like that's like literally like the whole place was a death trap.
Post office now.
Oh.
Yeah, that's upsetting and somehow feels right.
But like, do you think they have like H.H. Holmes like post like stamps and stuff?
Do you think he like stands in the corner in his little bowler hat and is just like, my hell is being trapped in this terrible
people he
terrible murdered.
Yeah, it's
well, he's just in a post office.
That's possible.
So I've never had a happy moment in a post office.
You know, there's a theory, right, though, that like where serial killers and all that, where they murder the most, right, they get tied back to. And so, you know, supposedly, according to the nephew of the homeowners on Ghost Adventures, he's talking to the Ghost Adventures crew, and
damn it,
he mentioned that supposedly activity in the home, as far as like ghosty stuff, weird stuff happening, it increased in 2011 when Dorothea died in prison.
Because like I feel like, as somebody who is like really into ghosts, I grew up in a haunted house. We're going to talk about that a lot on this, but you don't have to have died in a place to have that connection there. And I feel like the acts that she committed in that house, the rage that she would have felt, and like even like the weird creepy not rage. I don't know what's scarier, if she was super angry or if she was like
devoid of all emotions.
Yeah, like which one? Like they're both scary in different ways.
Yeah, I would assume she was an angry person, right? Angry at the cards that life had dealt her and all of that, you know, and like she thought she was getting hers, you know, like
she felt like she deserved it. She felt very narcissistic and entitled, like a lot of other serial killers are.
Extremely narcissistic, like an extreme I can't say the word.
God, we're pretty though, aren't we?
Narcissist. Let's just say she was a
narcissist.
But you know, they say that, you know, just weird stuff started happening. The homeowners moved in their one of the elderly mothers, right?
So, I think it was the wife's elderly mother.
Yeah, I believe so. And so she's 92, and she supposedly sees or saw, I'm not sure if she's still alive, would see Dorothea in her room and at the end of her bed. And to make it even creepier, like, you know, the theme that you hear from the detective, from the old lady, 92-year-old lady, and other people is psychics, that one of the things she would do, she would smile, but she would never smile with her eyes. So it was like really like just.
This is excellent audio content. We're currently smiling without our eyes. We're doing the opposite of smizing, which is what Tyra Banks taught us to do. But all I can picture right now is like that lady like curled up in her little bed and then waking up, and there's like this demonic old woman just standing there like with gigantic eyes, because that's scarier to picture. And, like this great big smile. He's just like standing there like, I want to poison you.
Yeah, like you're thinking like the Cheshire Cat version of Dorothea.
Well, I was if we're being honest, I was thinking more of Buffy, the gentleman with their great big teeth. Okay. We're not going to have this fight on a podcast. We're not going to do it, Megan. I'm not going to open you up to that.
Buffy's a terrible show. Anywho, so the 92-year-old lady sees Dorothea, but you know, we don't really have a lot of you know, paranormal investigations in this house. Like the homeowners are very clearly pretty private. Like
the fucked up thing is that let me rephrase that. Where they fucked up was that the first person that they allowed into their home to paranormally investigate the place was that goddamn Baggins. I'm like,
it's probably just he offered that. He had to have offered them a wad of cash. Like,
he is the worst. I'm sorry. Like, I know, like, I shouldn't talk. I try not to talk shit. I read the 4 agreements and I try not to. I do. I know, and I mean it. I do. I try not to talk shit. But Zach Baggins, you stole 45 minutes of my life, Zach.
42. It's 42 minutes.
42 minutes. Well, I had to hit pause at one point to go get another glass of wine.
Zach Baggins
bring shame upon the name of Baggins.
Let's just say he overacts a little bit. So he claims, I don't know if he claims necessarily, but he has feelings, like psychic feelings, and like, don't get me wrong, I can get down.
Fuck you, Ghost. I'm not scared of you. Oh, you're just an old lady. You can't push me over because I'm Zach Baggins and my glasses don't mean anything. They're just thinking heavy because I have small eyes, which is not a problem. Like, I'm gonna hide behind these glasses that I don't need. I don't know why he bugs me so badly. And I'm trying to like backpedal and not be like a total like twat face.
Well, at least he doesn't dress anymore exactly like the whole entire male cast of Jersey Shore, but he definitely used to, like with the bedazzled jeans and like the tees. But now he's moved to douchey hipster with his oversized glasses that are too thick. They're too thick.
Yours are oversized, but they're like a fun statement. You
they're
know,
not
and like
really. They're like he's trying.
I have my purple Harry Potter glasses.
No, he's like his glasses look like Harry Carey glasses.
He looks like John List.
Yeah, he's just a he's not a bad person.
He's not a bad person.
He's just irritating.
I will give him that, like, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
So we're talking about him. We have 33 views on a YouTube video and he has 26 fucking seasons.
Yeah.
I think he's an energy vampire. I think that when you watch an episode of Ghost Adventures and you just feel unutterably annoyed by Zach Baggins, you're just like, he gets that feeling where he knows that he has like taken your energy and he's like, yes, I should go to more historic places and scream at spirits.
Yeah.
Which is like rude, and I'm sorry. Like I said a second ago, I'm going off on a rant here. And it's just gonna happen. And I'm sorry that if anybody out there is listening to this and like Zach Baggins, what I need you to do is to go into your bathroom and close the door. I need you to look into your mirror and see if you can like stand being with yourself for longer than 10 seconds. Just make eye contact because something's wrong up here. Or talk to a therapist. In other words, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Zach Baggins is a handful.
He's a block-headed brace girdle from Hard Bottle. He doesn't deserve the name of Baggins.
Yeah, that's the Lord of the Rings quote. I don't understand. But anywho, so they bring in what he claims in multiple episodes too. They bring in supposedly world-renowned psychics.
Yeah.
Right. And I Googled them and they have a Facebook page.
Excellent.
I don't think that they're necessarily world-renowned. But they had some compelling stuff, right? And they have good reviews on Google. They only have like one bad review.
And I'm gonna say something that I hate to have to say out loud.
Mm-hmm.
The Ghost Adventurers brought forth some compelling evidence, in my humble opinion, that there could be spirits in the Puente F Street house. Zach Baggins sitting on that couch or on the bed downstairs and pretending like he was poisoned or drugged and then falling off the couch, like watching him face plant into the floor was great, but I'm done.
It was comical, right? So yeah, he pretended, he said that he felt drugged. He felt like he was 5,000 pounds and then like slowly fell off the bed. It was pretty comical, like honestly, like I wonder if he watches that film and like cringes, but
I hope so. I hope that he's grown.
The big thing that the psychics talked about is that, so it's a couple and they work together, and one of them draws, one of them like communicates with the spirits.
Yeah, and they
they're walking through the house and he stops in a hallway at one point and he goes, I don't know why I just stopped, right? I just stopped, like there was something here before that was not here before, like, or there's something
there that wasn't there before, or there's something
there's
no longer something that used to be there.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for clarifying. But essentially what it comes out as is that supposedly there was a wall there pre-remodel, and that was not public knowledge. It was something that nobody would have publicly known. It's not something they can Google. They, after these psychics left, they even looked at the walls and the floor to see if there was like any indication that, like, a scheme or anything. There was nothing. There was no way that he would have known that there was a wall there. And even the detective talked to them too, and he's like, yeah, it's weird, there used to be a wall here. So that's how they knew that info. So
there's a wall there.
That is pretty compelling, and supposedly the spirit that he communicated with was killed on the other side of the wall. So that is part of what makes it,
I got goosebumps a little bit. And it's a bummer that it was Zach Baggins people. Like,
yeah,
that show would be so much more watchable without him.
Agreed. But they also they really have compelling evidence, right? Like
the Oculus thing, or
Ovulus. I think it was Ovulus. I believe that's what it's called. I keep getting it wrong, but it's a tool that they use that picks up essentially. It's like a speak and say, like a spiritual speak and say.
It has like a bunch of words programmed into it. And the way that it works is that like it gives off a frequency, and so allegedly the spirits can tap into it and make certain words appear on the screen. So in this episode of Ghost Adventures, to save you, dear listeners, from having to watch it, they are in different places in the house and they turn on the ovulus. It just feels like something where you would check to see if you're pregnant.
I was just about to say, it sounds like something like Rhino has, like that. It's like, oh, and then the ovulus, you know,
and then like all the boys snicker and like,
oh, we know that's what we're saying. We're saying something, and we're not actually saying the correct word. But
no, we're absolutely not saying the correct word. Never once, not one time. But so they pull out this thing, and they're in different places on the property. At one point, they're outside. And then they're in the kitchen, and it says things like it brings up the word 15. So I guess the number 15.
I think one of them follows it up with like victims or people or something, right? Something to indicate that it was
15 berry, 15.
That's what it was.
Yeah. And that to me is really interesting. Like, but again, like I come from it from this place of I want to believe, but until I have ruled out all other things, like I just don't know if
it's one of those things that who knows how
easy like somebody like if the producer is typing it off to the side. But
well, exactly. So you don't know how unprompted it is. It is like a compelling thing to think that she could have killed 15 people. Like she really could have.
If any place has the right to be haunted, it is that place. What is it? 1426 F Street?
Yeah, 1426.
Absolutely. Yep. Like
I think that's definitely like one of those things, like if you think about the fact that she was poisoning the dude who first got her caught for tax fraud, it makes you wonder how many people she potentially killed before that. Like
how many people who stood in her way that she got rid of.
Exactly. Like there was, you know, enough of a supply of people, you know, that she could definitely have gotten away with it. I don't think it's an unreasonable stretch for her to have killed 6 other people, especially if she was taking the bodies off property, right?
Yeah, like because like with that one thing where like homeboy McGee made her like, I'm sorry, why doesn't this guy feel like remotely, I don't know. I just feel like that guy, I think that there's some credence to the idea that maybe Dorothea had an assistant. Yeah, and it was that guy, but I also could see maybe if he was like some handsome simpleton who, like, I don't know if like simpleton's Ted, a word I can say anymore, like Ted the Blacksmith.
Like Ted the Blacksmith.
It's around Ted the Blacksmith, and he's like, well, hey there, Miss Dorothea. Would you like me to build a box? I can carry that box for you. Don't you worry, you're pretty.
I can build that.
Yeah,
I love making that joke.
You do that all that. I could fix that. I'm like, stop it, Megan. That was a heartfelt, like that was one of the first times I like cried in a book.
Yeah, but you know, to kind of like, I guess sort of close on the thought that, you know, the house has every right to be haunted, right? Like it is extremely likely that it is. Usually places of violence or whatever tend to be haunted.
Well, right? Like I said, like I grew up in a haunted house, and as far as we can tell, there was nothing violent in connection to the home, perhaps in connection to the land, but like what?
Your home, right? Your
my mom's house in North Carolina. I almost said the city, and I decided not to at the last moment.
Yeah.
But it was a haunted house. Like my siblings and I all saw like the same couple of ghosts growing up there. There were weird vibes. That was the first place where I played with a Ouija board, like an exceptional dumbass. Do not play with Ouija boards. Like, I'm just going to throw this out there to anybody who might be listening and might think to themselves, oh, this will be fun. I'm going to pull out a Ouija board and we'll talk to my great-grand and it'll be a good time. No.
It would be interesting to do, though, in Dorothea's house. So
under no circumstances, no.
But
I will not be a part of any adventure in which you pull out a Ouija board, particularly if we're at the site of a gruesome murder or
supposedly, though, the homeowner said that the first year they lived in a house, somebody did a seance in front of their house.
fucking noobs.
So, and they said it weirded them out, but it's
do not engage, because you don't know what's actually poking through. You could find it could be an elemental masquerading and something, and like pretending to be a more benign spirit so it can gain access into this realm. Like you just don't know, and you're not. Frankly, nobody out there, like you're not powerful enough.
Unless you're competent with energy work, right? It's not something, if you can't control your own energy, right? It's not something to pursue.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I think one of the interesting things though about the Puente house is the fact that the homeowners very clearly are skeptics, but the people around them have definitely experienced something in the home. You know, like that's the thing. It's like there's enough history that warrants, you know, something's going on, right? There's got to be weird shit that goes on in that house.
Yeah.
So I mean,
like I was saying before I went off on a rant, like my mom's house was definitely haunted, but there wasn't even any like connection that any of us could find in the research that we did for a reason for it.
Yeah.
Other than the home builder guy died there like late in his life from natural causes.
Yeah.
So that warranted a haunting. Like I can't imagine what a location with that much just
energy, right? Like it's like energy and like bad karma and like
negative energy for sure, like anger and rage, or like just like disassociation from human life and how much it matters. Like it's got to create something.
Yeah.
If a girl, if a teenage girl starting her period can create a poltergeist, what the fuck is in that house?
Yeah.
Or just teenagers going through hormonal things.
You know, I mean, teenagers be teenagers, but yeah. So
they're the fucking worst, and they cause poltergeists. But yeah.
Anywho, our verdict: Dorothea Puente's house definitely haunted.
Definitely haunted.
There's too much there for it to not be haunted.
I feel like we're not going to get another opportunity to have some sort of a ghost show go there because of the sour taste that Zach Baggins left in the homeowner's mouth.
Rightfully so. And that's all speculation. We don't know that that's the case, but we can just assume it based on Zach Baggins' personality.
Zach is a really nice person who is doing and it's like all a presentation. Like it's all just like a character that he's playing. And I say to you, Zachary, as a community theater actress, straight the scene again. Is that the take you want to go with?
Yeah, he definitely needs to get some acting classes or something. And just be more convincing. So,
but one more take. You know?
Zach Baggins' involvement in it definitely makes you kind of question lots of things.
The legitimacy of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I understand that that's my issue.
Yeah, well, it's everyone's issue who has common sense around Zach Baggins.
For sure.
But anywho, it is interesting. So
yeah, I think that location.
Hopefully somebody gets to explore, I think, the paranormal side of it a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I think it would be very interesting.
Yeah.
Just to dig up the yard again. So
I was about what I was going to say is that location is a place I would really like to go to.
Yeah.
I would like to see it for myself. I fancy myself somebody who can pick up on ghosty, haunty things. I feel like we've had some experiences together.
Yeah. We definitely
sort of stuff. Yeah.
Living next to a graveyard together will do that. So.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I think I would be interested in doing a firsthand thing. I don't know that's ever going to happen, but
yeah,
I'm satisfied with saying that I feel like this place is haunted.
Yeah. I think there's, that's probably the vibe of the whole block, honestly. It's such an old neighborhood and all that on top of the murders, right?
Right.
There's got to be some stuff going on. Plus, I mean, you think about the fact that there's probably still bodily fluids and blood in the wood, right? So there's still a literal connection, a physical connection for some of those people.
Yeah.
To be connected to the property itself. So
and that's upsetting to think about.
Personally. It's sad. So, but
I just meant from a cleanliness standpoint.
Oh, well, I'm sure they sanded some of it away, you know, refinishing the floors, but hopefully, but I don't know, like that should
I would love to find out that there was like some sort of a ghost story where there was a place where they had always sanded away the stain, but it came back. I love that shit, man.
You should just write a short story about it. That's what should happen.
Well, there's a haunted church near my hometown where there's a bloodstain. But like it, I don't know. Maybe I like it. I hope so. I believe.
Yeah. I believe in this instance. Like I think that it's hard not to. But
I believe in a thing called love.
Anywho, thank you to everyone for joining us. Keeping hats on.
Let's plug our places. Where are we, Megan? We are on. Sorry, I just asked you where you were, and I'm going to interrupt you. We're on Instagram at Tin Hat Time Podcast.
TikTok, Tin Hat Time, and then we are also on YouTube, and then very soon we will be on Anchor as well.
Yeah, we're looking into that. We will we'll update everybody, all 34 of you out there who care, when we have more information. But yeah,
we'll also include the links to this info in our YouTube video, so it'll be in the bio.
Yes.
Or just information. I'm not going to link it, but you guys can copy and paste into Google. So, but anywho,
figure out your own shit. We're not here to be your mother.
Exactly. And on that, we'll end time. So, thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us at Tin Hat Time. If you have any sort of an alien experience, a ghost encounter, or a strange conspiracy you'd like to hear us cover, DM us at the Tin Hat Time Podcast on Instagram, or send us an email at
tinhattimepodcast@gmail.com. So we would definitely love to hear anyone's stories.
Love to hear your personal stories.
Give us some reader mail to end on.
Yeah, we'll read your shit.
Yeah, send us your stories and we'll read them. So
man,
we definitely love to hear it. So thanks again. And
it's great to, we'll figure out a good sign off later.
Yeah.
It's just stop it.